I've never really used a resin printer before. The Anycubic Photon Mono M7 Pro was my real dive into the realm of resin printing. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about the features of this printer, how it makes everything easier, and what doesn't make it easier from a perspective of a beginner new to resin printing. I have already released a video on the Hey Gears resin printer setup, but this one actually arrived first, and this is the one that I started playing with first. Anycubic did send this out to me for review. This is not a sponsored video. It is sponsored by my supporters over on Patreon. Hit the link down in the description below to go check that out. First and foremost, let's talk about the features of this printer. This does have a 14K screen, which is gonna help give really sharp details from my understanding. An auto-resin pump, which should make everything a little bit easier. Resin heating, so if you're in a cooler environment, that will help you out. It does have a fairly large build volume, and it does print really fast. On paper, that should sound like it's a really beginner-friendly setup, but my experience hasn't been 100% good. Now, overall, it is a really solid build. You do have a cover that just lifts off rather than the tilt style. So you just take it off and you can set it to the side. The lid is slightly clear, so you can still see what's going on, which is nice. The machine does seem to be built really nicely. It is really heavy, which is a good sign. Nothing felt really cheap or inexpensive. It has a really solid chassis, and it does feel like a solid premium machine. The build plate feels nice and solid. I do like how it's just an easy twist knob to kind of get it off. It has a nice, good handle here, so it's easy to grip. It's got a really cool pattern on the build plate itself, and this does transfer over to the bottom of your resin prints if you're not using supports to interface between. I found the adhesion to be pretty good. Did have a few issues where the print did not want to stick to the build plate. I think that might have been my mistake for selecting the wrong material in the slicer. But what was nice is that the printer did give you a heads up like, hey, something fell off the build plate. You might want to go look at it. I did have a few instances on that where the vat itself was still holding the print and it wasn't sticking to the build plate anymore. This does have a resin heater that I believe circulates through right here, and it's going to help keep the resin up to wherever it needs to be. As a beginner, I didn't really know that you needed it to be within a certain temperature range. I get why it is that way. I'm out here in the desert. It's not very cold, so I don't have to worry about that as much. But the fact that it has it built in and it takes care of that automatically, that is a really nice feature for someone as a beginner like myself. The pump system is pretty cool. You do need to use Anycubic's bottles or ones that are similar that can screw onto the top like this. It will automatically fill the vat for you, and it can also take all the resin out of the vat and put it back in the bottle for an easier cleanup. This is such a mess. Having it be a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner is a really nice feature for me. And Wham Bam was nice enough to send over all their resin stuff, and it's been a huge help in trying to contain the mess that is resin printing. I'll have a link down for their stuff down in the description below. You should really check that stuff out if you are into resin printing. There is a port that you can open up on the back of the machine that will allow you to vent the air out to wherever you need it to go, whether that's a fume extractor or outside through a window or something. It didn't come with anything to attach that to. You do need to purchase that separately from my understanding. Now onto the resin itself, they did send over 2 bottles. They sent over some high-speed resin 2.0 in gray, and they also sent over water wash resin 2.0 in gray. Using the high-speed resin 2.0, it was significantly faster than using the other bottle of resin. And you know, I didn't really notice any difference in print quality, which is good. If I were to buy more, I would probably just buy the high-speed resin 2.0 because I didn't really take advantage of the water wash. I just still used the IPA with it. Now, the water washable resin, I did run into some issues with. I did need to go into the slicer and adjust the exposure parameters to match what they had on the website product page. For some reason, they just kind of had like a default water wash plus in the slicer, but yet this had different parameters according to the website. So I made my own profile, added those in, and that solved a lot of the issues I was having with the water wash resin. With that one, I was having a really hard time removing everything from the build plate. It was cracking easy. It caused more failures. I don't know if I would use that going forward. I'm probably just gonna stick with the high-speed resin 2.0, but I really wanna check out some transparent resin That looks awesome. I think that's what could make this really special. Now, one thing as a beginner that really tripped me up was the whole support system on this is way different than FDM printing. I did find that with this printer, the supports came off really easy on 90% of the prints that I did. And it didn't really leave any scarring like I found on the Hager's printers. These, I didn't really have anything, which is really nice because it requires less post-processing. And speaking of post-processing, they also sent over their new Wash and Cure Max system. And I kind of wish I didn't get that one, to be honest with you. It is really large. And if you're doing bigger prints or larger sets of prints, I can see where that would be very helpful. But for me, it's really big and it uses a lot of water and IPA every time it does it. It also flushes out the used water out into a separate bucket that you have to set up. I didn't really like that personally. I think that needs to be a little bit differently. I get why they do it. They don't want you mixing all your water and your IPA back together. And yeah, I get it. I understand why they do it, but I wish there was a built-in bucket that worked better. And I also ran into an issue where the hose is different from the other 3 hoses that attach. And for whatever reason, it leaks like crazy. I have to put a rag under this or watch it as it flows the excess water out it'll just make a giant mess, as you can see up on the screen right now. I had to clean stuff up like this a few times and it was really quite annoying. I'm gonna reach out to Anycubic and see if there's a fix for that, but overall, I'm kind of disappointed on that side that it was leaking so badly like that. And on a side note, as a beginner, I much prefer to see the other kind. You put your prints into a bucket of IPA and it really gets the inside and gets everything on the outside and it mixes everything all nicely. I feel like with this one, it's just kind of goes for a shower. It doesn't really go on the inside of the prints if you're doing hollow prints. And I found a few times that afterwards, it would just drip resin out if it wasn't properly done. And on another note about that excess hose that has to come out, there's no proprietary bucket. I mean, it does come with like a little like collapsible bucket, but unless you have somewhere to hang that, it's kind of a problem. I ended up just using a Home Depot bucket just to kind of get everything into that excess bucket. Now on the positive note, I did find that it cured the prints nicely. It is a quick, easy interface on the front. It's very easy to use, but I just wish it would do a little bit better of a job washing it on the inside. Now, like I said, I'm a beginner. I don't know if that matters, but let me know down in the comments below on your thoughts on that. I'm definitely interested to hear what you all have to say about that. Onto the slicer. I found that the slicer was pretty easy to use. I didn't have any issues with it. It definitely wasn't a one-click solution like the Hager system, but I will say that it was still very easy to use. I didn't really have a huge issue with learning the system. Adding supports was quite easy. I do wish that it would auto-orientate prints for you a little bit easier. I've had to go in and manually update the rotations on a lot of everything. If that is in the system and I'm missing it, definitely let me know down in the comments below because I wish it did have that. And if it did, I would feel kind of stupid. The support generation is really easy. It works really well. I had no issues with that at all. And overall, the slicer was very easy to use and learn as a beginner. So it is nice to see that. Now I am very experienced in FDM slicers, so that might help me. I think even as a pure beginner, it would be fairly easy to move on down the path. All right, now the most important part you've probably been waiting for. How does this thing actually print? And well, it's good and it's bad. Now the bads might be my fault, so if they are, give me suggestions down in the comments below because I need them. One of the very first things that I printed was this little test file from Anycubic that was preloaded on the machine. And it is this cool little hollow ball that has a ton of detail. This is where I learned really quickly that I should remove the supports before curing them, because after I did that wrong on this one, and you can tell on the bottom that a lot of the scarring from the supports is still there. And like I said, that's my fault because I didn't know any better. But the detail on this is phenomenal, and it does really show how good the resin printers are versus the FDM printers when doing this small detail like this. Now, this is where things didn't go well. I tried printing this Crypt Keeper, and as you can see on the body, the midsection is discolored. He's missing some parts. The bottom just completely is missing, and it broke off and it peeled. You could see the inside of the support system. I don't know what happened here. If you have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments below, because I have more that are just like this Captain America bust from Photos Mint. Everything printed great, with the exception of his chest. The chest just got discolored, and it's super fragile. It's not connected. It definitely didn't print right. And same thing with the bottom. It doesn't seem very flat. It doesn't seem very good. I did try a smaller version of this, and the chest printed fine on this one. But the bottom, again, it's warped and it's curled. It definitely seemed like it was having some sort of issue with the build plate. Like I said, let me know down in the comments below. I need your help. I think with the Crypt Creeper one, I think the problem that I had with this one is that I didn't mix the resin after it was already sitting in there. I'm thinking that might be what caused this problem. I don't know, but it definitely didn't print right, and I need to reprint this. Now, some prints that did turn out really good. I did this Max Height Cyberman from Doctor Who, and this thing turned out so good. I can't wait to paint this one. This doesn't look like it was made in my garage. This looks like it was professionally done by somebody. And back on the whole Doctor Who kick, I did a little small TARDIS. Same thing, this thing printed beautifully. I did notice a little bit of like curling on the bottom, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Now, for the miniature people out there that are into the miniatures, I did do some of that. Unfortunately, when I was removing the supports off this Halloween themed pumpkin guy here, I did break off his foot. So unfortunately, he's broken, but overall, the print quality on this is really good. On the back of his cape here, I just noticed that there's little skulls that are peeking out from the tear in the cape. That's super cool. I did find this one on my mini factory, and same thing, unfortunately, I broke his cape off and his foot while trying to remove the supports. With the smaller ones, I was running into some issues with the supports being a little bit harder to remove. This could be before I tried switching out the water washable profile in the slicer. So now, some of the things that I learned as a complete resin beginner. Resin choice matters more than you expect. And having profiles already built into the system as a beginner is a really helpful thing. Anycubic, please add some more into your slicer to kind of more fill out your product line. You know, honestly, it's not hard for you to do that. And I think that should just be baked into the slicer no matter what. If you offer a product, it needs to be in the slicer. Another thing is that the supports come off so nicely, generally, compared to FDM printing. The level of detail that you can get out of these prints is just phenomenally better than what I can get out of my FDM printing. And another thing that really surprised me is just how fast resin printing is. And what makes a big difference is that you could fully load up a build plate and your time only matters about how high it goes. So it doesn't matter how many items you have on that build plate. It's just all it matters about how high it has to go, because, you know, it's using the screen to expose that resin all at once. It's not like an FDM printer that has to go around and like go to each item and stuff like that. This is really cool. As a beginner perspective, can I recommend this printer? Absolutely. I think it is a great printer to get started with. You know, it's not necessarily the cheapest printer, but it is a good option to get started with. Now, if you are going to pick up a wash and cure system, I do recommend maybe going with their other lineup, maybe not the Max unless you need that big build volume. I am much happier using my Haygear's smaller setup personally. Anycubic does have some that are very similar to that up in their lineup. I would definitely check that out versus the Max. The level of detail that I've gotten off this printer is awesome. I'm very happy with it. The easy support removal has been great. It's just been a really pleasant experience to use as a beginner. Now, if you want to see another resin printing video, check out this one right here of the Haygear's Reflex RS Turbo. It was a much different kind of experience. You should definitely check that video. In fact, I'll go see you over there. This is Adam from the Rad Dad Print Lab, and I'll see you next time.